Here we are. Okay, let's begin our yoga session for our evening wind down for sleep. We will begin seated. And let's do a hand position that is supposed to help us calm and steady our minds. It's a little tricky, but I believe in us. Okay, so we're going to take our thumb to our first two fingers. We're going to cross our wrists and connect our pinkies. Show you once more. Doesn't have to be perfect to still get the intention behind it. So thumb and first two fingers. Doesn't matter which one you're more comfortable with. I feel I can only go with one in front. We cross our pinkies and then relax. And if it's not comfortable, get as close as you can. So we don't have to do the pinkies. Thumb and first two fingers, we cross, we join our pinkies. Okay, here we go. This hand position is supposed to represent our mind becoming calm. So if we like, we can close our eyes here. We'll take a deep breath in. And with every exhale, we can imagine that our minds and all of our thoughts come in waves like the surface of a body of water. You may see this as a stream, a lake, an ocean. And with each exhale, the surface of the water becomes calmer. So we take a full breath in and a long breath out. Imagining that our minds that we see as the surface of a lake, ocean, stream, whatever, the waterways gradually get calmer and calmer. And we picture the same thing happening in our minds. Our thought patterns become calmer. The surface of the water may not be completely calm, but it's getting there. Full breath in. We may like to count to focus our minds. And a long breath out. Picturing those waves getting calmer. Well, let's do one more breath like this. And then we can release our hands. Might feel good to give them a little shake or make a fist and then release. Let's give the shoulders a few rolls. Squeezing shoulders up to our ears. Squeezing shoulder blades back towards one another. And then finally, relaxing them down our backs. If our eyes are still closed, we could go ahead and open them. And let's start to match our breath to movement. So with our inhale, we can sweep up overhead. And exhaling, we're drawing hands through heart center, choosing a comfortable range of motion, whatever that means to you. Moving more quickly, more slowly, larger range of motion, smaller range of motion, depending on how our shoulders are feeling. Sometimes they're a little stiff, creaky, maybe there's popping, cracking. It's all good. Just noticing that range of motion and warming it up. Okay, let's do one more like this. Perfect. We'll keep those shoulders down and back. Let's keep our hands at heart center. We'll do some movements of the spine to help us warm up. We're not going to do too much. So let's sit tall to begin. And we're going to turn and twist towards the right. Coming back through center, let's go the other way. And then the next time through, we'll do a longer hold. So this time, let's come back through center. We can release our hands, taking our back hand behind us for support, and we can just rest our front hand. We may choose to take a look over our shoulder, as though we're checking our blind spot. Inhale, imagining our spine lengthens. And exhale, we can draw our abdominals in to keep us here. Coming back through center. We're ready to take it the other way. We'll start with hands at heart, so we're pulling from our abdominal muscles. And we've gone as far as we can go. Let's release our hands wherever it's comfortable. We can turn and look over our shoulders. Inhaling, we're pressing down to grow tall. Exhaling, we're pulling our abs in to keep that length. Great. Coming back through center. Let's do a seated cat and cow. You may prefer being on all fours. That's always an option. But if we like, we can just rest our hands on our knees, tucking our tailbones under to lengthen out our low back, tucking our hearts away to lengthen out our mid back, and then tucking the chin to lengthen out the spine through the back of the neck. We'll reverse that motion, untucking the tail, lengthening our bellies, lifting our hearts, and then lifting the gaze without letting the head pop off. Let's go the other way, tucking under, shortening the front of the body, lengthening the back of the body. And we'll go the other way, lengthening the front of the body and shortening the back of the body. Back through center, coming into a neutral spine. We'll do our lateral flexion here. So let's take hands down to one side, reaching our arm up and over. And like I said before, for our shoulders, we could always do a smaller range of motion, but the emphasis is on taking our spines in this C bend. Well, let's switch sides. Perfect. Let's go again. We'll hold a little longer on this side. And whichever hand is in the air, so if you're going the same direction as me, it's your left hand in the air, push your left hip down into the mat. So if it's coming with you, press your bum back down. We might like to bend the elbow to increase the stretch in the tricep. And we might like to take our bottom hand to opposite knee, again, to increase the range of motion. Let's take one more breath here. Making sure we're not working too hard. Coming back through center. And we'll take it the other way through all those steps. So up and over, making sure the bum is still glued to the mat. We're using our own internal strength to stay lifted rather than leaning all of our body weight down. We may like to bend the top arm or reach the bottom arm across. Let's take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Coming back through center. We can let this go. Let's do the same movement for our heads. So most people tend to slouch and have the chin go forward. So let's sit up extra tall for most of us. It'll feel taller than we normally sit, and pull the chin back a little bit. We're going to turn and twist to look over the shoulder, moving only the head. hold here and pause for a couple breaths. Coming back through center. Might need to reset, tall, pull back, turning just the head the other way. Coming back through center. Let's take the chin towards the chest. And you may like a very, very gentle amount of pressure, just leaving the weight of our hands on the back of the head. So we're not yanking the head, we're just resting the hands there. If that adds a little extra sensation to the stretch, perfect. We can go the other way. So we're lifting the chin and now our hands support the weight of our head. We can let the elbows fall open. It's supposed to be more wakeful if we leave the eyes open and look up, and more peaceful if we look up with the eyes closed. The same way as we might look up if we were under a canopy of trees. We'd want the sun out of our eyes, but the warmth of the sun on our face. Sort of what we're going for here. So this uplifted posture with the eyes closed. If we inhale, we feel probably more expansion in the chest than anywhere else. Coming back through center, we have one more movement for our necks. Let's go ahead and take ear to shoulder one way. Might feel good to press away and really drop the opposite shoulder. Last one. Here we go. Ear to shoulder the opposite way, and yes, we can press away again. Super. Coming back through center. Let's get into our hips here. We'll windshield wipe our legs. So we can plant the feet flat. We can support our body weight back on our hands, and we're taking the knees side to side. You may have a different preferred method to shaking out the legs. That is totally okay. The idea is that we get some movement going in the hips after sitting still for so long. Bring our legs back in. And however it works best for you, I'm going to turn side so you can see me. We're coming into a forward fold. So we'll sit tall. And you may notice that your flesh is kind of stuck underneath you. We can bend our knees a little bit, and we can actually pull our glutes back to help us sit taller. We can press our fingers down to help us sit taller. So let's work with our posture first. So if you notice while you're here that it's really hard to sit tall, the back of your legs are really tight, probably this is the most effective place to stay. Rounding forward means that you're just going to be practicing slouching, and we do that enough all day. So let's work on being tall. If it's easy to straighten the legs and that feels good, fantastic. And if you can keep this tall posture while walking forward, great. But some of us will need the hands in behind to be able to sit tall. And then some of us might easily fold completely in half. So anywhere in there is fine. The idea with yoga and Ayurveda is that anything folding forward or closing the angle of the body helps put us into a better state for sleep. So however we get there, it's fine. Let's stay here, we'll hold. Giving ourselves that mental reminder that we can always go further and we can always pull out early. No matter what variation we do, let's add our breath technique. So we can inhale, probably for a count of 4. And let's see if we can exhale for 6. At your own perfect pace, in for 4, out for 6. Might feel a bit sleepier if we start to tuck the chin. Depending on your breathing, you might like to do a much longer exhale, counting much higher than 6. That is great, that's fine. Coming up to seated, let's take our hands in behind us, and ideally our fingers are either pointed towards our feet or out to the side, pressing down to lift our hearts to the sky. So this is one of those biohacks that people talk about. Wherever we point our eyes tells our brain and body how to feel. So if we have our eyes like really open and looking up, that tells the brain to be awake. And if we have our eyes pointed up but our eyelids closed, that probably feels more peaceful, and it does. It tells our brain and body that we're in a more peaceful state. We could be picturing ourselves sunning ourselves on the beach. This is often called sunbather's pose. And we're doing it to balance out that forward folding that we just did. Back through to seated. You go ahead and come into butterfly. So we'll draw the legs in. Just like we did with our windshield wiping, might feel good to lift and lower. But let's remember our posture, right? So if we're really tucked under and slouching, probably nobody needs to practice slouching. So let's do what we need to. We can press our hands down. We can adjust the meat in our seat. We can take our feet further forward to start from a place of good posture. We might like to have our hands in behind. And yes, some of us are going to feel really great folding forward. That's okay too. Let's use our long exhale again. So with our inhale, we might feel a bit of a lift. Long exhale, working into that sinking feeling. So even when we inhale again, we're going to try to hold onto that sink by noticing how heavy we're feeling, by feeling our feet pressing down. Inhale, lifting just slightly. Long exhale. Sometimes people say that we imagine we're moving towards the center of the earth. We may like to close the eyes and tuck the chin. Again, this downward movement of the head and closing the eyes sends the message to mind and body that we're feeling sleepy, even if we're not feeling that way yet. Good stuff. Let's shake the legs off however you like. So this can be a good way to get rid of any pent up energy from the day. We can shake the legs off. We might like to windshield wipe the legs again. We're going to make our way down to lie on our backs. So let's get there however it's comfortable. And now it'll feel a little different since we're on the floor, but let's windshield wipe the legs side to side. So we can let the knees fall all the way to one side. Coming back up through center, falling all the way to the other side.
And let's leave them all the way over to one side. So we can let the knees drop all the way to the right. Pause and hold. We might like to reach the arms up overhead. Taking one more deep breath in. And with our exhale, let's use a little bit, we don't have to work too hard, but a little bit of abdominal control to bring our legs up. We'll let them fall the other way. No rush to get there, and then we'll settle in again. Might feel good to have arms overhead, maybe not. So we can adjust them wherever we like. Let's give it one more breath in and out. Again, we pull from the core back through center. And we'll go through some supine stretches here. So let's go ahead and draw knees to chest, holding shins or the back of the thighs. Might feel great to give ourselves a bit of a massage, rocking side to side. Let's hold behind the right leg and extend the left. We can press the left leg down for some stability. Give the leg a good hug so that our thigh is pressing into our belly. And this is actually supposed to help us sleep better by promoting good digestion, to press literally against our organs with our thigh. So with our inhale, maybe we're noticing our belly presses our leg away. And with our exhale, we can use our upper body strength to pull in. Well, let's go ahead and straighten the leg into a hamstring stretch. Might feel good to have some movement of the ankle, pointing and flexing or circling. And we'll do a variation of Happy Baby. So traditionally, this is done by taking our peace fingers to our big toe and then capping that off with our thumb. But we're applying even pressure, pushing up and pulling down. So we can let our leg bend. And rather than pulling our thigh towards our belly like we were just doing, we're going to take it off to the side. We have our free hand, maybe on our belly to be more aware of our breath, or open to the side to balance us out. Some of us, again, may be quite flexible. You might really feel the desire to straighten the leg out. That's totally fine. But a good rule of thumb is that often a stretch feels like an invitation. So if it feels like an invitation, like in Seinfeld, like, no, don't come, you can come back to this bent leg variation. Wherever we are, let's hang out a little longer, knowing that we can always leave the pose early. We could always stay a little longer if that feels like that's what you need. We could start to make our way back through center, releasing this leg, stretching it long, and let's stretch our arms long overhead. And we're ready for the second side. So we can draw the left leg in and press the right leg down. Really using our upper body strength to pull in, belly against the thigh. As we inhale, probably notice the leg moves away. As we exhale, we can use our upper body strength to pull in. And ideally, we still have our shoulder blades pretty flat against the floor or the mat. So if you feel like you're rounding forward in an effort to grab your leg, we could always hold our pant leg instead so that we can still be broad across our collarbones. Our hamstring stretch. Let's take the leg straight. Again, if we feel we're really rounding to hold on to our leg, let's start with our posture first, relaxing our shoulders down and back, and then hold on to whatever is accessible from there. We may like to point, flex, or circle, wiggle the toes. Another way to get rid of some of those end of day fidgets. Moving to happy baby, we take our first two fingers. And of course, we don't have to hold the big toe. We could hold the ankle or our pant leg again. But if we want to do this the traditional way, we take our first two fingers around our big toe, cap it off with our thumb, and equal pressure pulling down and pushing up. So we're not just yanking the foot and the toe off. Our foot and toe are pressing into the hand. And our knee can come out to the side. And our free hand can come out to the opposite side to help us balance. If you really feel like you need to, straighten out, you have a huge range of motion, go for it. If you're nowhere near that, yes, we could be holding the back of the thigh, which is a much lazier version. As you can see, I have my arm as kind of a kickstand for the weight of my leg. Holding the ankle, or really anything else that makes sense for your own body proportions and flexibility in this pose. Wherever we are, reminding ourselves that it's okay. All modifications are good and have their place. And let's see if we can still breathe through it. We can be using that deep breath in, our long exhale. Feel free to close your eyes to hold the stretch. And when we're ready to release, we can let the leg go. Stretching long, maybe taking our arms overhead feels good. We've got one more here. We can walk our feet in, sort of like we're getting ready to do crunches. And we'll do a variation of pigeon. So our feet are flat. We'll take our right ankle over our left thigh. And there are a few different ways we can do this. This is the first one. We can just be really passive and lazy about it. We may like to draw the legs in, holding behind the left thigh, holding foot and ankle, or some of us might actually like to add a twist with this. So rather than pulling the legs in, taking our right foot over until it lands on the mat on its own. So feel it out, see which one feels good, and we'll stay here for about a minute. So both of them have the same ability to lengthen our IT band area, the outside of the right thigh. So this stretches the edge of our quad and the edge of our hamstring and into the muscles of your bum. Depending on who you are and what you do in an average day and how you put together, one variation will probably give you a better sensation than the other. But wherever you are, let's see if we can remove some of the work from this position. So if you feel like you're working really hard, maybe adjust and settle and see if we can be more passive in the stretch. You might notice the longer you stretch, you need to kind of fidget and readjust. That's perfect. That's actually part of the stretching process. We will start to make our way back through center. And you might actually like a little windshield wipe here again, or knees to chest, or something to reset. And then we're ready for the other side. So we can set our feet flat on the earth, taking left over right. And this side might be completely different due to the nature of our pelvis and moving around the world. One side of our pelvis will always be a little more tilted forward, and the other side will always be a little more tilted back. Very subtle, but you'll probably feel it. And you probably knew this before I started saying anything. We're not totally symmetrical from one side to the other, so we don't have to do a symmetrical practice. This might feel great. Pulling the legs in might feel great. Twisting the leg side might feel great. So let's find the stretch that feels like an invitation, feels like our energy level at the end of the day can drop. Choosing the variation that feels like it's going to bring us a little bit closer to sleep. Whenever you find that spot, we'll hold for about a minute. We know we can close our eyes. Stretching out our exhale to be longer than our inhale. Maybe we're inhaling 4, exhaling 8 at this point. And when we're ready to come back through center, maybe we're resetting, drawing knees to chest, windshield wiping the legs. And we'll do our last sort of yang pose of the day, our last muscular work pose of the day. We'll just release our legs. Again, it looks like we're setting up for push-ups. We call this neutral position sometimes. We may like to walk our shoulder blades underneath our backs, and we're lifting up into bridge. So we can really press down through the backs of our shoulder blades, our triceps. We can flatten our palms of the hand, and we're getting length from our knees to our shoulders, and our bodies are this nice diagonal, kind of like a slide. Might feel good to move in the pose, might feel good to hold still. But after we did all this work closing the body, we can open it to create balance. When we're ready to lower down, our last chance to reset the body through free movement. Might even feel nice to do a happy baby with both legs at once instead of just one at a time, or what we sometimes call waterfall with both legs overhead, or any other movement that feels good to you to reset. We'll do yin instead of yang. So this is soft, passive cooling rather than heating. Let's go ahead and take the soles of the feet together. We're letting our knees fall open into a supine or sleeping butterfly position. So we're relieving stress or tension in the front of the hips and the inner thighs. And it might feel really open and vulnerable to do this. So I'll give us an option to do an open version and a closed version. And then it's up to you to pick the one that you feel is the most conducive to winding down at the end of the night. So we could also take our arms out to cactus or up overhead, so that we're wide across the chest, maybe taking our arms out to T if space permits. And then noticing how we can get a deep breath here. Our chest, belly, and ribs can expand outward because our arms and legs are out of the way. So this might feel really open or even energizing for you. Sometimes it's nice at the end of the day to do this kind of front body stretches. And if that's the trick for you, perfect. You can hang out here. If this does not feel super awesome, we could do the opposite. We could take the feet out and let the knees knock in. And then we might like to rest the hands on the body or even cross the arms over the body. So we have the option to be open or closed. Hanging out there and noticing how we're feeling. We'll give it a couple more rounds of breath. And we'll come back through center. You know what? We have enough time. Let's squeeze in another one. We'll do one to expand our ability to take a deep breath by stretching the sides of the ribs. So let's go like this. We'll straighten our legs out, and it's called banana stretch. So we're going to make our bodies like a banana, the same as we just did. Very little exertion, and we're just going to hang out there. So let's walk our feet over to the right side of the mat. And to keep your left leg from slipping away, we can take our right ankle on top of our left leg. So there's a little overlap. We've walked our feet to the right, and now our right leg is on top of our left, Got the bottom of our banana shape. Let's do the top of our banana shape. We'll take our arms to the right side of the mat. And then our right hand can hold our left wrist. So you can see we've created this length through the left side of the body. And our only job is to hold here and breathe, focusing our efforts on expanding the left side of the ribs with our inhale. We could do a long exhale. Might feel good to do pursed lips on the exhale. But whatever option we choose, there's this term to try softer rather than trying harder. So if you notice you're really trying hard, let's see if we can try soft. After we're here for a while, knowing again that we can fidget and come in more or out more, and that's part of the natural stretching process. We don't have to stay still. These little fidgets are actually good for us. Let's notice how we're feeling, taking a deep breath in and exhaling back through center. Let's see if we can make it match on the other side. So I will walk us through. We're walking our feet over to the left. Then we take our left ankle on top so that our right foot doesn't slip away. All right, so our feet come left, left on top of right. Our arms come left, and our left hand holds our right wrist. We've created length down the right side of the body, and we can hang out and breathe, feeling the expansion through the right side of the ribs. If we notice that we're gripping or holding any muscular tension anywhere, let's see if we can release. Sometimes we need to relax the forehead, the jaw, the shoulders, the feet, the abs. If we come back to this idea of seeing our mind as waves growing calmer, we could also use that idea as we scan our bodies. Maybe there's a lot of energy waves moving around in some area of the body. And let's picture the waves growing calmer until that part of the body releases or settles. All right, we're ready to come back through center, even ourselves out. We will finish with stillness. I will lead us through a breath practice and a guided meditation. So going wherever you're comfortable, you might like to take our hands behind our head or have a pillow. You may like to put on an extra layer of some sort.
I will stay seated to guide us through this, but of course, feel free to even fall asleep while we're doing this. So if we're all still comfortable lying on our backs, fantastic. And let's start by noticing the support of the floor beneath you. Noticing all parts of the body that are touching the floor, the mat, whatever it may be. And let's come back into our sinking breath. With our inhale, feeling the front of the body lifting, chest, ribs, and belly expand. With our exhale, imagining that we're getting heavier here, sinking into the earth. All those points of contact between the body and the floor sink a little deeper, they feel a little heavier. Inhaling, feeling full and lifting. Exhaling, noticing the heels, back of the pelvis, back of the head, sinking heavy into the surface beneath you. Inhale, belly expands. Exhaling, back of the arms, back of the shoulders, getting heavy, sinking down. Encouraging our breath to expand evenly into all parts of our lung capacity. We'll feel it in our bodies, so that when we inhale, we feel belly expanding. Imagining maybe that we're breathing into the low back and the sides of the waist. We'll feel ribs expanding, chest expanding. You may even be able to feel it in our collarbones, tops of the shoulders, or feel the back pressing down into the surface beneath you. Option to stretch our exhale out here. So maybe we're counting our inhale for 4, exhaling for 8. Keeping in mind, we want to breathe comfortably. We always want to feel we're getting enough air. I'll give us the option for a 4, 7, 8 breath. So it goes like this. Of course, your speed of breath will go a little different than my words, but we go like this. Full inhale for a count of 4. With our lungs full, we hold the breath for a count of 7. And then we exhale for a count of 8. So 4, 7, 8. In for 4. Hold for 7, out for 8. Let's see how we do. Go for it whenever you're ready. Inhaling 4. Gently hold for 7. And then we're letting it go for a count of 8. If we feel anxious or unwell, go back to a different kind of breath. We can try this anytime again. So keep going and I'll give us some tips. So you'll notice as you go, you might like to really fill the lungs, or you might only like to fill them to 2/3 full, 75% full. Then we hold and a long exhale. And with your exhale, you might like to do that pursed lip exhale as well. So inhale for 4, you decide how full. Gently hold for 7, and then on the 8, maybe pursed lips, like you're breathing out through a straw. We're supposed to do 4 to 8 rounds here to help us fall asleep. Let's give it a couple more. Letting our breath return to normal. Noticing how this feels. Have there been any effects on the body? Maybe feeling a shift in energy, tingling, warmth, cool. It may be giving you some sort of emotional reaction, and just know that all of that is okay. We are practicing our skills of observation here, not judgment. We'll direct our attention towards our body. I'll lead us through a body scan. Well, let's go ahead and start with the soles of our feet. Again, we're practicing our powers of observation, taking in all the information that we come across, but we don't need to form any sort of opinion, criticism, judgment. And if those things do come up, that's okay. It's just one more thing to notice. Bringing our awareness to the soles of our feet, bringing into our awareness all sensation in the feet. Maybe noticing temperature. Often the feet feel a vibration or tingling, kind of prickly sensation. If you've been running around the earth today, maybe they're feeling sore. No right or wrong way to feel, but you may like to give it a name. Drawing awareness up through ankles and calves. Seeing if there's a sense of touch, temperature, comfort or discomfort. Bringing our awareness up to the knees. And the same thing, just marking with our minds whatever physical sensations are there. You may also notice that your mind tells you a story about that area. We don't really need to listen to that. We're just staying focused on the present. Drawing our awareness up through our thighs and pelvis. Maybe noticing the weight of the body. Continuing to draw awareness up through the torso. Maybe noticing movement of breath or digestion. Bringing the awareness down the length of the arm, noticing how we're feeling even down to each fingertip. Bringing into the awareness the head. The face, the neck, jaw. And finally, opening and expanding the awareness to take in the whole body as a single unit. Maybe we can pick out a positive sensation that we notice here. Feel free to stay as you are, as long as you like. No need to get up. We can bring our hands to heart center or over our hearts. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And from my light to yours, namaste.